Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are exploring Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We're going to be looking at different mosques, churches, the history, and healing that happen in this beautiful city. We have just arrived at our accommodation called Villa for You. Let me show you a quick tour around the kitchen. Has all the amenities like silverware, plates, spoons, cups, teacups, tea kettle, even a refrigerator. There are 3 of us here, so we have 1 double bed and 2 single beds, and then a great bathroom with a big shower. We had just arrived in the city from Dubrovnik in our rental car and immediately headed over to Hindi Han for dinner by the river. After getting caught in a rainstorm at Kajtaz House, hiking down to Kriva waterfalls, and then rushing to Buna village and into Mostar before sunset, we were all wiped out and headed straight to bed after dinner. Good morning. This is day 2 of being in Mostar, which is in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Now, Mostar is a rebuilt UNESCO heritage site that has beautiful stone bridges with brave Mostari soldiers that take an 80-foot plunge into the chilly waters below. It has mosques, delicious food, a coffee culture to rival any around the world, and hospitality like any other you may experience. The prices are incredibly kind to the budget-minded, and this city is easily accessed by a day trip from Dubrovnik. You can get a bus or easily rent a car. But before I dive into all of the incredible things here to see, I wanted to share why I decided to visit Mostar. I was initially drawn to Mostar because of the beautiful bridge spanning a turquoise river. It seemed like a bit of an off-the-beaten-path paradise for a photographer. Yet, while doing a little research about things to do in Mostar, I realized this bridge was representative of more than just a functional piece of engineering. It had a story and represented healing from a troubled past. In the 1990s, within our own generation, a war of ethnic cleansing of Muslims and a desire for independence during the splitting of Yugoslavia due to the underlying tensions. I won't get into the blame game of who did what because the war has no winners, only losses. Of the Muslims that occupied the city center, 2,000 went unaccounted for. There are families that are still alive today that don't know if their family members were executed on the spot before international intervention could happen, or if they died in concentration and forced labor camps. The rest of the Muslims that lived here were expelled. Nearly 5 centuries of Islamic life and culture were destroyed, along with 95% of the city. After the war, it was estimated that nearly 100,000 people died in the war and over 2 million souls were displaced. 4 leaders, many of them Serbian, were convicted of war crimes by the UN and the European Union. There is now a fragile peace here, but divisions and generational pain are still evident. I would advise when you're here to be very sensitive about the issues when you visit and celebrate the recovery and peace of the city. So how do we help as tourists and provide support and recovery to a city like this? We visit, we listen, and we educate ourselves. While there are still bullet holes and sniper towers and abandoned buildings, there's also beauty and a rich history to bask in and plenty to see while you're here in Mostar. So let's tour this city, this beautiful UNESCO site, and show you the best places to both get beautiful photos and find out more about the real history of Mostar. Make sure to check out culturetrekking.com, where you'll find a written guide to this city as well as many others around the world. Easy to navigate table of contents, and find me on social media channels at Culture Trekking. So we're headed up to Stari Most, which is the old bridge, and there are shops all along the way that have these gorgeous handmade tea sets and lace and purses and clothing. I need to just put my wallet away is basically what I'm trying to say. First stop is the Stari Most bridge, or the main attraction of Mostar. So as you can see, the crowds are already here, but if you don't want to get the crowds in the background, you want to come here in the morning. This bridge was first designed in the same fashion as the original one in the 16th century that was destroyed during the war. It can get very slick here, especially when it's raining like today, so make sure that you have good shoes on. There are Mostari jumpers that typically jump here in the summer months, and it's around noon. In the shoulder seasons, you might be able to catch them, but the waters are really cold, so they don't usually do it in the shoulder seasons. The river is one of the world's coldest rivers. It stays around 46 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. I wouldn't try jumping in yourself either. You have to actually get training on one of the platforms. It costs around $35 once they clear you. Then you can go ahead and jump. However, it is almost an 85-foot fall. The best views of the bridge are from Lucki Most, which I'll show you later today. It's down the river a little ways, and it also has a nearby cafe. Now there is a museum here as well that we're gonna check out. Okay, this bridge is kind of scary to walk down because it's so steep and it's very slippery stone, even when it's not wet. We just came from the Ottoman side or the Muslim side of Mostar, and now we're going into the Christian side of Mostar. Just on the other side of the bridge, you will find this shop, but in fact is a war video exhibit. When he was 13 years old, when the war started, and told us a tale of becoming a soldier in his commander or school bus driver's squad. He taught us how Mostar used to be and how they tried to protect the bridge, a major source of pride and heritage for them, but ultimately failed. He recounted a tale of his commander leading the party that went to free the women and children in the forced labor camp. I won't go into the details as it gets quite grisly, but you can imagine what they were forced to do. There are still mass graves throughout Bosnia they are finding to be able to give the families closure they need. He talked about his commander, who died right in front of him, and showed the scars from where he was shot in the shoulder. Yet there was still such a sense of pride in him, and a love for a man who once took him to school. It just goes to show you, even the most unlikely people can be one of the most extraordinary heroes. Okay, the war photo exhibition, it was very moving, and I highly suggest going. We headed into Old Town to kind of unwind from all the heaviness, see what there was to see, and get some souvenirs for family and friends. Psst, it makes great Christmas gifts. This is Kajtaz House, the Ottoman architecture type home that once belonged to Cemal Beydiş, a descendant of 16th century judge who used it as a harem and was once part of a larger homestead. It is now under UNESCO protection, and you can see how a wealthy Ottoman family once had their home configured and how they would go about their daily activities. You can hear me with the wind, but this is the Lucki Most bridge, and it has the best views of Stari Most, which is just down the river. Okay, we are headed over to Kriva Cuprija, and this was the precursor bridge to Stari Most, and it had to be built in the Stari Most had to be built in the original way that they built the bridge. That it had to use the same materials because it was UNESCO funded, and so this was the precursor to that, to make sure they were going to do it right, because an 80-foot bridge is a really big bridge to screw it up. So let's head down there. We are on our way to the Peace Bell Tower. This bell tower has a viewing platform 22 meters above the ground, as well as 370 steps. There is a lift inside that takes you about halfway up. Some think that maybe this is more of a thorn in the side and triumphalism, when they built this along with the cross up on the mountain that overlooks the Muslim area. But the name of the Peace Bell Tower rings through. Nobody here really wants war again, so it retains the name. But it is a very poignant piece for the city. No matter where you go in the city, there are traces of war left here. While it is possible to gloss over it and just make your trip positive, I think it would be a disservice to do so because of the impact it has on who we decide to vote for and how important ensuring truth always prevails, as this is always the first casualty of war. We are on our way to the Bruce Lee statue. Now this statue has a bit of a funny story in that they were given money to revamp the city and they wanted to put an important statue in the park, but they couldn't agree on who to put in the park because the Christians wanted one person, the Muslims wanted another, and so they decided that the statue they could all agree on is one of Bruce Lee. All right, so right down the sidewalk across the park is the Sniper Tower. Now the Sniper Tower was used during the war to take people out. There's a lot of war stories around this tower. Technically it is illegal to enter, but people still do it. I decided not to do it today for various reasons. I think I'm still a little bit moved by the war museum that we went to in Dubrovnik, and I'm just going to sit in the park here, kind of contemplate what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've read, and what I've learned. So if you want to get great views of Mostar, that is the place to do it. Otherwise, we're going to head on over to our next stop, the Muslibegovica House. It's a little confusing, all these Ottoman houses and which one to visit, so I'll show you this other option that you can visit as well.
It was very odd to sit here and look at the Sniper Tower and think how many people had died because of someone shooting them for no other reason than their religion and where they came from. And in a juxtaposition, a children's playground has been put right in front of it. I think this moved me as well because here you have something that creates joy and represents new life and the next generation. and leaving the past behind. As painful as it is, there's still hope.
I am toasted, and it looks like it's about the same as the Muslibegovica, which is much closer to Old Town. So now you know, the Begovica, this one, it is much closer to Old Town, but we are on our way to the mosque, and we will see you there because I am running out of energy.
This is the most well-known mosque in Mostar. It was built in 1619 and represents classical Ottoman architecture. It has a porch with 3 domes and an extraordinarily well-crafted mihrab and mimbar. It is located right on the cliffs of Neretva River in the center of the city, and your €3 ticket gives you the best access to the best photo op of the bridge. Make sure to wear a head covering and modest clothing when you enter. After ending on a high note, we grabbed some dinner, which I'll cover in another video, and headed back to our apartment to get ready for our trip the next day to Dubrovnik, Serbia. There was a lot to process from this day, though.
Good morning, everyone. We are officially leaving Mostar today. I was up pretty late last night and wanted to convey some of my thoughts as just a conclusion to this video. So some of the things I was thinking about tonight or last night was there can be beauty and hope through healing the wounds of war. Even as a tourist, opening your mind to not just the wonders of the place, but the history that shaped it. Where there was once pain, bloodshed, and suffering, now we find common ground through food and a universal language of enthusiasm for celebrating culture with some of the most hospitable people you will find in the Balkans. No matter what divisive beliefs each of us believes we may have, at the core of it, we are all human, wanting a better life for ourselves and those we care for. Mostar is a place that was burned to the ground, and the pain that it caused is still healing. But despite the past, the people here continue to look forward to the future, one that is full of hope. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend, because not just about being more the merrier, but also sharing the knowledge that we have with each other to make the world a better place. I'll see you in the next one. So we're on our way to the Bruce Lee statue. Guess they don't want me talking right now. Well, that